Welcome to this week's Android Developer Office Hours. I'm Richard Heinemann.
Hi, I'm not Nick Butcher.
You're not Nick Butcher.
I am Nick Butcher.
He is Nick Butcher today because of the Olympics. Doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, welcome to this week's Android Developer Office Hours. We're here to answer your questions on Android development. If you would like to join in the Hangout, please just ping on the thread inside Google Plus on Android Developers Plus page, and we'll add you in so you can come and ask questions on Android development. Things that we don't talk about in these sessions are product roadmaps, future releases, other things that may be deemed confidential. It's all about the development and Android technologies and Android devices themselves. Do you have something you wanted to?
No, you just did it.
That bit?
You just did it.
I'd like to welcome Al Sutton back in again as definitely our most regular attendee of these Hangout sessions as well.
Hey guys.
Oh yeah, hey Al. I should open the chat window because Al often posts the most useful links in there as we're running through. We have some viewers on YouTube already, so I guess...
Well, anything interesting going on in the world of Android we want to talk about first? Well, just before we start the meeting, Al, you mentioned that Samsung just announced something interesting for developers?
Yeah, they're offering a remote testing lab which you can sign up to, and you can get a lot of access to devices like the S3, Galaxy Note, even S2s, Tabs 10.1, just to test out your applications remotely. So there might be some developers who want to play around with the S3 because they were saying they've sold 10 million of them now, so it's well worth trying out apps on it. 10 million, from what I can see, you get a number of credits assigned to you, and you can book 15 or 30-minute slots and use that device as you want.
So much like Testroid or other cloud-based testing solutions we've seen before, but this is for free, you said, and just Samsung devices. Yeah,
it looks like, from what I've seen, they give you a certain number of credits. You can probably buy more credits if you want more time, but you get a certain number of credits, which I think works out at about 4 hours worth of testing on any device that they've got on their system. And looking through it, they've got S3s, Galaxy Note, Galaxy Nexus, the original Galaxy S, S2, Tab 10.1, various variants of them, even going back to the original Galaxy Tab 7.0. So
it's quite reasonably high end. What about the lower end stuff? I think those are often the ones which might, throw up some niggles on certain apps, like the Galaxy Y and Ace and other kind of smaller lower end devices. How are their price ranges there?
It seems more focused on their premium offerings. The Galaxy S, I suppose, is what you could class the lowest it appears to go to. Even though it sort of was high-end a few years ago, it's a WVGA device, so it gives you that 800 by 480 screen and most of the things you'll see. But there's a limited selection at the moment, but it does very much seem to be the higher-end offerings.
And what's the URL for that? It's just developer.samsung.com.
Yep. Developer.samsung.com and create your account there, and it's called the Remote Test Lab. It looks good. Yep. You get access to actual physical devices over the web.
That's cool. I think Sony, Sony Ericsson, now Sony Mobile, I think they're called, offer something similar, don't they? They have physical, you can kind of basically borrow a device off them. I believe that's something similar. I think it's good.
Yeah. There's a bunch of, other third-party solutions that we could mention as well that have a variety of handsets. Usually they're not free. It looks like the Samsung one's going to be free for Samsung developers, which is excellent. You just book your time slot and get the device.
Yeah, and the fact they're covering 10-inch, 7-inch, and 4-inch, and down to, I think 4 inches as low as they go, means you can also cover a range of sizes if developers haven't got access to tablets and stuff like that.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Cheers for adding the link in.
Well, the emulator gets you a lot of the way with the screen size testing, but it's often kind of OEM customization, so if you're doing something with a camera or something like that, when real devices can come in real handy for testing.
Yeah.
I guess that's where it really would help out some people. So yeah, well, thanks for bringing that up. That's an interesting topic.
Okay. So we'll head into the moderator. I've put the moderator link for the questions for today inside the Google Plus post as well. So hopefully you can see it there. It's also at developers.google.com/live/Android, where you can track these events going forward. We actually have 3 sets of office hours that run on a Wednesday. One in the Asian time zone, one in the European, and one in the America time zone. So you can either switch to watch it during work or after work, whichever suits you.
Or if you're super keen and you do the triple, you win some kind of prize, maybe?
But if you ask the same question in all 3, then you lose the prize. Just try and confuse us. See if you get 3 different answers out of the 3 different sets.
There is no prize.
There is no prize. Terms conditions apply. There are no terms conditions apply. So, on to the moderator. Hi, says Samo. It's up there. A friend of mine has created his iOS application, and he wonders what ways are available to convert it to an Android application.
What is this iOS?
iOS application. Other products.
I think it runs on Cisco routers.
Created a mobile application for a platform, and would like to bring it to Android. Alright, maybe he'd done one for Symbian. I do have a soft spot for Symbian.
Is that Stockholm Syndrome?
So, I mean, the thing is to become an Android developer, really. We don't charge you to get hold of the SDK. So you can go to developer.android.com and start looking through how to write Android applications. That's going to be the best thing to do. We have a great design site at developer.android.com/design. And in there's some pages around pure Android, which actually hint as to how things should look across different platforms. So it will help with redesigning the application so it looks and fits better into the Android ecosystem. Makes use of the back buttons.
It's a really big and expansive topic. I think the industry as a whole is going to struggle with this a bit, and a lot of people have looked towards HTML5 and other hybrid technologies to kind of be the shining light that kind of rides in from the east and saves you, so you only have to write your app once and it runs perfectly on every single different platform out there. But I think that's never really kind of come to pass. I think, like, if you take a look at Facebook, for example, it used to be the poster child for this movement where they were writing their app a lot in HTML, and while it may have simplified the development process, I think most people agree that it didn't yield the best possible user experience in their applications. And it's interesting to see those guys, to see Facebook turning around and saying now that they're going to focus on native mobile applications. So I think that kind of really speaks to the fact that, you know, if you want to have a best-in-class, really responsive, beautiful application, then you really kind of need to go native. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, there are solutions which do cross-platform output from HTML, the Titaniums and PhoneGaps of the world, but I'm still yet to see an application that was done with one of those cross-platform solutions that you couldn't tell wasn't native. The bounce backs done in JavaScript, list scrollings, things like that, the native components, UI components across various versions of Android, it always is pretty clear up front that the application you're using is a web-based application or HTML cross-platform application.
You get things like links in apps which just look massively out of place, highlights kind of wrong, and scrolling is slightly off, and it just feels wrong.
And of course you can't take advantage of a lot of the platform features that Android has for supporting multiple devices, supporting the 7-inch devices. Nexus 7.
It's quite interesting, actually, that Facebook, at the moment, I know, are hiring Android engineers, so they definitely are moving away from the HTML5 experience.
So who are?
Facebook. They have an office in London with a job post for Android engineers. And they obviously bought Lightbox, right, which talent acquisition? I don't know.
I've heard it's a talent acquisition rather than anything else, so yeah, they're definitely taking people on, so hopefully we'll see something good from them in the future.
Yeah, it should be. There's been lots of reports of the number of users of Facebook that are only doing it from mobile now, hundreds of millions or whatever of hits just from mobile.
Nice to see them go mobile first.
Okay. Where are all the viewers today? Well, we have viewers on YouTube. We have
everyone's watching the Olympics.
We need some people to join in the Hangout, come along and ask some questions live in here.
Has the men's time trial started? We're almost up against the men's time trial. How can we compete against Widow?
Can we get a second live stream in, and then people can come in to hang out to watch it?
Yeah, why not?
We need the Android-powered exercise bike from IO11 in.
Jeez, dude, good memory. The ADK Android exercise bike.
That's brilliant.
Okay, let's have a look at the next question up there.
This is where we're trying to go.
The Google Play content policies have changed. They have indeed. If you're an Android developer, you would have got an email today saying that we've updated our policies for distributing applications in Google Play. There's details of that inside the email, and then you can look through to the link and read the new policy.
And when you sign into your developer, into the hub site, it should give you a little link there as well.
Yeah, you should have a little bar at the top. So the clause against incentivizing ratings on the market was there already, says Mattis, but it was never really enforced. Will it be enforced from now on? So it's a tricky one. I mean, we don't look at every single game and play every single application in the Play Store. We don't have people that do that. That's not how the Play Store works. We're a much more open ecosystem. However, we have systems that look through the Google Play portfolio of applications. It's one of the reasons why it takes a little bit longer for your applications to get published now. We have systems that are Bouncer, indeed, is looking for malware specifically. But we also do look out for things like applications which have a suspicious number of 5-star ratings over a short period of time. So there are systems looking out for these things, and of course we can use those to try and highlight the apps. But the main point here is you're definitely not going to get your application featured if you have this kind of functionality in the application. So the apps that do get fully tested are the ones that go through featuring and editor's choice and staff picks.
There's also some subtleties in what we kind of consider incentivizing as well. Like you can say, please rate my app. And the best way to do that is to have a, yes, no, never kind of thing, so you don't annoy the user popping it all the time. But you can't say, please rate my app 5 stars, because that's trying to influence the way to do it. And you certainly can't say, rate my app 5 stars to get X, because, well, it's just a lie, because there's no way for the app to actually determine what your rating was. So there's subtleties in what you can and can't do, so maybe Metis isn't clear about that. You can actually ask people to say, please rate my app if you find it useful, and please do that in a non-annoying way. But yeah, you can't really incentivize them to rate it at a particular rating, which I imagine will be 5 stars.
There is, of course, the ability to report apps in the Play Store.
There is indeed. At the bottom of every app listing on the mobile device, you can scroll down and report apps, and there's an inappropriate apps form for reporting on the web store as well. And yeah, you really don't want to start getting your applications banned. 3 of those and you can get your account shut down and other things. So it's just much better to abide by the content policies that are laid out and not try and work around them in any way.
Yeah.
They have been made more specific in a few of these areas now.
I think the changes are better. I think they clarify a lot of stuff and add a few more examples about things which I've seen people confused about in the past.
One of the big changes seems to be getting rid of something that bugged me, which was notification adverts. Where you get adverts that appear as system notifications. They would just... I've not met anyone who found those useful or actually used them to click on without thinking that they were something useful as in terms of a notification from an app rather than an advert.
Yeah, talking about advertising, we may as well go into that a little bit. We've made it very specific now that adverts inside your application must also abide by the same rules as your entire application. You're fully responsible for every advert that's shown in that app. So if, for example, you're using an advertising platform and it enables you to turn gambling adverts off, you should turn them off instantly. Because if gambling adverts start appearing inside your application and they link through to live gambling sites, your application can get banned from the store for that. It can just get taken down. People can report it, whatever, and we can find it. So just be aware that you are fully responsible for every advert that shows in the app. Don't put them in annoying places. And don't mislead users into clicking them. That's a specific.
But don't show adult apps in an app which is rated for everyone or something like that.
Yeah, also true. Yeah. So just be a bit more careful around the ads as well. And this was all covered in the guidelines before, but now it's just very specific to make it a bit clearer. Okay. So if anyone has any other questions about the new guidelines, then ping them through. Where are we?
I'll take one.
Okay, why not? Yeah, from V1P. Do you want to go for that one?
V1P asks, how can I access the phone's incoming call screen activity from my application? You can't. No,
there's a couple of things that you can't do, and that's one of them. You can't muck about with people's phone calls. Too easily like that.
Unless you write your own firmware, get involved with the AOSP.
You can do it on your own device if you really want to. You might like to do it.
There's actually some apps which try and do things a bit clever, don't they? Like by having a window floating on top of it. There was the app Fruitoo, I remember a while ago, which tried to give you extra options when you were in call to someone, so you could easily share your location with them or send them an image while you're on the call or something like that. So they try and do strange floaty over the incoming call screen thing, but you can't actually kind of interact and grab it or anything like that.
There's nothing stopping you though writing your own dialer application to dial out. It's just the incoming calls you can't intercept. Is that right?
Yeah, Skype's an example of that. When you want to make a call, if you've got Skype installed, it will come up and say, do you want to make this phone call using dialer or Skype? You can register for that intent and handle it as well. We saw our first application today come through that was also now registering for this action. So when you do that, it now comes up and says, do you want to use Google Now or do you want to use...
Swiping up from the bottom.
Yeah, the swiping up from the bottom action that normally launches Google Now on these devices.
Since Jelly Bean, yeah.
Since Jelly Bean, can you remember what the intent was?
Action. Android intent.assist, I think it was.
Could be. It's there documented in the latest developed docs. I think it was
in the source code of JB.
Just run off the Java doc, you'll be fine.
Hi, David.
Yeah, hi David. So you can't access the available screen there.
Okay.
Let's just go back to the thread and see if anyone else has made a comment. Are you reading the comments on here? Oh! Okay, David said, where can I join? Link to the Hangout. Alex, who's also asked inside. There we go. Alright, I'll ask it from the moderator then. FreeSoul, who is probably the same person as Alex, okay, asks, can I make clickable drawables inside a text view? The drawable created using html.imageGetter from image is downloaded from the web. I want to be able to zoom the images. Can I make clickable drawables from inside a text view? No.
So I'm guessing he's using, HTML from HTML or link or some kind of linkify method to try and turn some HTML, set some HTML on text view, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will that load images if it's in there?
No, I don't think so.
David's joined the Hangout. Do you want to explain your issue you're having?
No, that's not his question.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's alright.
I do have a question.
Okay, well, we'll think about Alex's question whilst you ask yours if you want.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So, you know how they have all these phone gaps and other APIs and tools to help you do cross-platform. Is there any frameworks, just the idea of a framework of a lightweight like wrapper, like maybe Google Docs does, where that it's more of like a link, like the app icon launcher would be almost like a link and have a lightweight amount of metadata about the person. But if you're always connected to the web, it would go to the website and download like, HTML5 pages on there. So maybe it keeps your login credentials and some metadata about you, but really it uses the HTML
yeah, I understand.
thing.
I guess in some respects the browser does all that for you anyway. In terms of keeping log, you can save logging details, you can do that kind of identification using Chrome or the normal browser on Android. So you could just get away with making a bookmark and then saving that bookmark to your home screen. If you wanted to go and write a custom launcher,
I think of like a framework that other people could adopt so that it kind of the user doesn't know. It looks native. They think it's native, but I don't know if there's something out there. I wouldn't want to go out and create this if it already existed. I looked around, but I was just wondering if you guys knew.
I don't know the specific framework, but in terms of lines of code, it wouldn't be particularly many. You can even have a web view and load things into it. Actually,
can I just turn something down? Why do you want to fool people into thinking they're in a native app?
Well, not fool, but more of you have HTML5 people, and everyone wants their own little app. Everyone wants that little icon on there. They don't want people to think, oh, I'm going to the web. Also, a lot of people want them natively control. Like, here's your login screen, here's some credentials, and it's more of a perception. Yeah, it's not full, but it's more of a user perception. Hey, I've launched that icon. Hey, I got this app. But if most of your stuff is making JSON calls or calls to the web, why not use a common language that everyone knows? Or
PhoneGap does actually let you do that. It does let you have pages which are just loaded dynamically straight from the web.
Okay.
So
it's also probably worth bringing up WebView, which is an object you can use in Android, where you create a native app and it uses a web view, and a web view is populated from an HTML source. So you can use that to connect back to your main application. And you can use a JavaScript interface if you want to call into native code. So you can make some small tweaks to make it a little bit more native and make some use of Android's functionality without going fully down the route of having a complete Android application. But once again, as the guy said earlier, it's usually better to go down the route of an Android app if you've got the resources to do it. Users tend to spot HTML5 apps, whatever you do.
Yeah, and I was just putting that idea out there to see if someone's done it, and to get your input from it, because I was just thinking about doing it instead of going totally native. So I mean, I've done native and done the JSON, but I was just saying, well, if it's out there, or if you thought maybe it was a good idea or something like that? Because
So yeah, I don't know that one, but I would say be cautious of doing that, because like you say, everybody wants an app experience and have an icon on the home screen and whatnot. But just be really kind of cognizant of when they launch an app, they are expecting an app experience, and if what they are getting is a web experience, which is slightly different, and you get into this uncanny valley where the interactions aren't quite the same that I'm used to from an app experience. You set an expectation that's going to work one way, it's going to be really responsive, it's going to, buttons are going to do one thing rather than have links and stuff like that. So just be real careful about mixing those two metaphors.
No, great, thank you. I just something that always been on my mind, and I was wondering to do it. I have another question too, but you can go to the other guys first, and I'll wait.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, whilst you're here. That's fine.
So I have a little app called Magnifying Glass.
Okay.
And so this app uses a camera on many different phones, and even though I say, okay, use the permissions and make sure they have zoom and everything else, I've found out, I've given away that someone can zoom, send me the parameters of their camera, and I see, oh, it doesn't have a zoom, or it doesn't support it, but it still was able, they were able to download it, and it's usually the cheaper phones that it doesn't work real well, but I really get a lot of people, bad comments like, hey, I mean, really, some really good ones that are pretty, it's free too, but I don't want to repeat the words. And I was wondering, I'm not a big company and everything, and I heard about being able to moderate or respond to people, because, like, I'll use a generic term like stinks, one word, stinks, and 1 star. I'd like to be able to ask a question like, well, why does it stink and everything else? And that's probably the new one. If you look at it, I rewrote it for Ice Cream Sandwich. So there's older versions, yeah, and it also has a mirror now too. Yeah, that's me. And you can do a mirror too. So I did it for my girlfriend so she can do her lipstick now too. So I've used the menu. And but you'll see on there that there, like, some of the focusing and other things like that doesn't. I have it so you have to click on the focus sometimes, because, like, Motorola is notoriously bad at accepting the basic APIs, like even a zoom. Like I say, even doing the regular zoom. So I haven't done a workaround.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the properties. When you have the properties, you give it a set zoom and you give it the zoom value. I've gotten back people saying, hey, it doesn't work, and then I have a friend that has a Motorola phone, I can't remember the version of it, and he's like, oh yeah, you really have to do a workaround with the camera, so
those camera settings should be added to the compatibility test suite if they're not already in there.
Yeah,
these devices shouldn't be getting through with those kind of bugs in them.
Yeah, and I sometimes I think maybe people just don't know how to use it. I thought it was pretty intuitive how to use it, but I mean, I would like that. Is there how do I go about, I send in request after request through the whole developer store, because I'm the top level person. I'm the only one on my developer store. So I wanted to do that.
To who, sorry?
Through Google, to the ether. I went through the developer store, through this developer store, the help, and what form to try to fill out forms. Is this about? There's nothing about development, or a question like that to ask for that directly. It's more like, oh, for billing or for. So I did for general.
For some development questions, we would definitely recommend going on to Stack Overflow or the Android Google group. But the Stack Overflow.
But this wouldn't be developer. This is definitely just for the store. No development. This is just how can I have that top level request to talk to the people who say.
Oh, I see. You're trying to get the responsive comments. Yeah. So, yeah.
So there's no form to request that yet. It's only with the people with the top developer badge right now.
Okay. So I'm the main owner of mine. So how do can I ever get onto that?
Top developer is a badge awarded to certain developers, not top as in root of the tree.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things that might be useful is mentioning what the remote testing services like, was it Perfecto Mobile, where if someone reports a problem with a specific device, you can get some time on a device that they host, and you just get an interface to it, and you can see whether you can reproduce the problem, and then you can get a bit of a head start in debugging it on that specific device.
Yeah.
Yeah, but specifically, as you say, I mean, the top developer badge, which does at the moment get you the respond to comments, is since we announced it at Google I/O, we've had a lot of requests to be top developer come through. A whole lot of requests for people asking to get the respond to comments functionality. And right now it's limited to that group, and we don't have any more announcements on if or when that would be expanded.
It's just that, you know, we're developing the feature, and we wanted a small set of users to bang on it and give us feedback on it. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, and then my next question is, why can't I get anyone to help me? I open sourced this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on Google. You know, I have a link to it. It's hosted by Google, and I have even both branches on the new ice cream, and check it in. And I don't put the code out there in the wild. You have to like ask to join. I only had one person ever ask to join, but he never followed through. Because I was like, but it's free, you know. I was like, I'll give you credit, I'll put it, you know, all that stuff, and it's remarkable. Sometimes you get people to help, and you know, I only have a few people that have downloaded it, but.
Yeah, I have apps with similar numbers of downloads that are open source as well, and it's very rare that you get anyone else just going through and deciding to commit to the application. You need to go to user groups in your area, Android user groups or Google developer user groups, and then get some interest in it, and then some people who you actually meet face-to-face maybe commit to doing some commits.
Yeah, because it only has like 240,000 or something like that. Plus, I got kicked off the group once, so I still have 30,000 from the other IP. Google slapped my hand for one time.
Okay. I don't have to go into that.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do it, but that was all.
But yeah, just going back to the camera issue, I think you're getting to the core of the thing is that it sounds like there are bugs in OEM implementations of the camera. Like, because they're obviously not using our camera, they're doing their own camera, and they basically just not really hit the whole API. So the thing you can do pragmatically is blacklist the device until you manage to get some decent debugging and work around it, perhaps. But the best answer, as Rich said earlier, is to submit a CTS test. So this is a suite of tests which every phone has to pass in order to get the Play Store and Gmail and Google Maps and stuff like that. So if you go to source.android.com, and it has instructions there about how to write and submit a CTS test, and that will be doing everyone in the world a favor.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll start doing that. I have the old one, I did it. It seems like the newer phones with Jelly Bean, because I have Jelly Bean and ice cream sandwich, that they're not sending them to me. And plus I did the new UI, and some people get mad at the little icon bar, but they're getting used to it. But the old one, yeah, the old app, I actually had a way that you can contact me. I don't do internet connection or anything else like that. So people like that too because there's no advertisements. So.
No permissions is good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in today, David.
Thanks.
Good to talk to you. Okay. Feel free to stay in as well if you want to hang out.
Yeah.
You looking for
like
the comments there? Anything interesting coming in on the comment stream?
Nothing I can understand.
What language is it in? Is it in Android? Okay. Let's go back to the moderator then. Someone's asking, how can I set the shooting mode for the camera of your application? Interesting. Well, maybe David can even answer that. He seems to be I've used the camera quite a lot. Have you ever looked into the different shooting modes for the camera, David?
Yeah. If you go to the properties, I think it's shooting dash mode. So you have to go get camera to get the properties. I forget the actual method call. And in there it comes back name value pairs, and it'll tell you the different modes that they have. And then from there you have to read. And so there's, like in Motorola, there was actually Moto-Zoom, and there's a Moto-Shoot. It's really neat to look at some of the added properties a lot of cameras have. Or
Where were you finding those added properties? Where did you find the Motorola-specific ones?
Print them all out. You can do flatten on the properties, and that's all I do. Is once you get the property, you say dot flatten, which is mythical, and it just prints out all of them. Yeah. And I just take all that and I call the email client and send those to it as a body of message and put my email in there. And so it's up to the user to send me it. But I tell you, I get a lot.
So they come in. You get users sending those in.
I get at least 6 a day. Some of them just send me the properties with no input. So I try to get this whole, support going on my own. I mean, I'm doing this for free. This is my hobby.
No, so you probably have one of the most comprehensive libraries of camera settings out there.
Yeah, I do. I could probably, and I'm willing to give it to you, because I don't, I'm not have any, it doesn't give you any specific user information. It's just the properties of the camera.
Well, maybe we'll talk to you about that afterwards. Maybe it'd be interesting if you could post it somewhere and we could repost it on our Google Plus page.
Yeah, they're all emails. They're all emails, and I even, I have them in Gmail bulk.
Just waiting for the bug reports to come in. Excellent. Well, that was quite a comprehensive answer, hopefully, for the camera question from Andre. Have we got anything else?
We've got some new moderator stuff that seems to be popping up. There's an interesting one there. I need to use some hard-coded credentials in my app. For example, the mail address that is used to send a bug report, or the couple ID key used for OAuth. Is there a standardized way to protect this data?
Oh. Saying no. Yeah, we would suggest that, especially for OAuth keys, things like that, that you potentially not keeping them inside the application. And you keep them on a web service and pull them in when you need them. There was a good talk from last year's I/O in 2011, the Pirates and Vampires talk by Dan Galpin, that actually ran into how to secure data, because there are things inside LVL, license verification, that are very useful to secure. And that ran into, of course, obfuscating your code. It ran into, if you really wanted to make it more secure, use the NDK, and then put the secure information in the native layer and call through to it, so it's much harder to decompile it and get hold of it. Al's just linked to the Pirates and Vampires talk. Thank you, Al. There's some information on Stack Overflow if you search for the same kind of things, like how to secure keys inside Android. But as far as a standardized, I think what you're looking for is a kind of standard secure answer to that. Just put it in this place. There isn't actually an answer for that I know about. It's kind of up to you to secure that data. And one of the most secure ways to do that is going to have it on your website. Hey, people have just joined the Hangout. Oh,
hi guys.
Hey, Stefan.
I have a short question. Currently, I'm doing to get our application hardware GPU accelerated, and we found several methods which are not supported by GPU acceleration. Especially the draw text on path is one of them, and we're using them. Do you know any substitutions for this?
So we do have a list of the methods that aren't supported. Certainly we had it for ice cream sandwich. I haven't actually seen an updated list for jelly bean. Have you seen one for that?
I don't know if it's changed.
Okay, it probably hasn't changed. So no, I don't know of an alternative for using draw path accelerated. Of course, you can turn acceleration on and off around the screen at the time that you're using.
Yeah.
One of the sources of that information is Chet and Roman's talk from Google I/O 2011 as well. They had on display lists.
Yeah, so the other thing you can do is just draw it to a bitmap once to the buffer basically, and then just keep on drawing that buffer if it's not changing. Once doing it slowly, and then keep on rendering the path. If the path changes a lot, moving the text around a lot.
Pardon, I didn't really understand you.
Is the path on which you're rendering the text changing, or is it just you need to render text on a path once, and then you can just re-render that same
The text is not changing, but the background is changing.
Okay.
Okay, I'll try this.
You should be able to render that to a bitmap, right? And then
Okay, I've seen this from Romain that I can render this to a bitmap.
yeah.
I've seen this talk.
Okay.
Or what is
Yeah,
the Stack Overflow? I think it wasn't Stack Overflow. I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, as far as I know, nothing's changed on that yet. And even if it had changed for Jelly Bean, you'd obviously need to still support the previous versions anyway.
Yeah.
I think the most changes to hardware acceleration in Jelly Bean were done around the web view. The new web view inside Jelly Bean is a lot more of the elements in there are hardware accelerated over the previous ones.
Okay, cool.
So it's a similar story.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Cheers, Stefan.
You're welcome.
Hi, Ismail. Good to see you in here as well. Have you unmute after you've muted?
Yeah.
Just as you've muted each time. Oh, well. I'll just type it in instead. Yeah. Okay, where are we? 2:37, and back to the moderator. What's the best channel for suggesting ideas for Android?
This one. I just asked and suggested that framework.
This is a good place to come and ask because you actually get to talk directly to Google. But source.android.com is the place to go.
If it's a big change, there's an Android contributing Google group, which people can save big chunks of code that they want to submit, and then they can code it up, submit it to the Android open source project, and eventually it will filter its way through.
Yeah, you can go into the Android Discuss forum on Google Groups and start suggesting it in there as well. All these places are monitored by Googlers, and we can have a look for ideas. But public discussions aren't really all that great for this. Okay, the rest of it's not particularly relevant, but the places to go to suggest it that the Googlers are looking at the...
Yeah, you find a bug, you can choose a bug type of feature request, can't you? So.
It's the public bug tracker. That's on the source as
Can
well.
you put the link for the source thing?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, sorry.
Just source Android. How's too fast.
Yours is a link.
Yeah,
It was the one to submit to the open source project. The source.
The instructions are on that page.
Oh, okay, it is. Okay, cool.
And I put the link to the group up as well.
Al, do you want to talk quickly through? You've had some submissions accepted into AOSP, right?
Sure, yeah. Basically, if you've got a large chunk of functionality, the best place to go to start off is Android Contrib. And that's the place where your idea gets bounced around. People then sort of tweak it to what would fit into the Android way and what would be better suited to the current code base. Once you've done that, you can submit your code to the Android open source project. A lot of the stuff for that you can get from source.android.com. You submit your patches into what's known as Gerrit, and that's a system where those patches can then be reviewed by Googlers, can be approved, or they can be commented on. Sometimes things that may make sense given the current code base may get held back because there are changes in the internal Google repository that aren't public yet and may knock on to what you're trying to do. So once you're in Gerrit, you may see things that don't make sense at that time, but in the future may make a little more sense. Once those are accepted, they end up into the Android open source project code base. And when you're playing around with that, the best branch of the code to play with is called the master branch, because that's where all the development goes on. Once those are in there, then there's quite a good chance that they will eventually make their way into the next major release of Android.
It's also worth noting the best time to make a contribution is just after we've open sourced the release, because that's the point at which the public AOSP is, I guess, the closest to master. So it has the least likely to kind of collide with an internal change, as Al kind of said.
Absolutely, but it's definitely worth re-emphasizing that submitting changes to an existing release as an external contributor, it's very unlikely that things will be accepted unless they're going into the compatibility test suite, the CTS, because a lot of the development for releases which are made like Jelly Bean has already been frozen. So there's not going to be big features added to it or anything else like that. So it's always worth adding new stuff in master rather than picking a specific release.
Good point.
Thank you, Al.
Okay, got any more moderator questions we want to pick up? It's like timing one. So Sam from Florida asks on moderator, what's the best advised way to sync timing in an app? For example, switching rotation while a timer is running. Is a service the best way to do it?
A service is definitely a reasonable way
So as
to do
the
it.
author of Ultimate Stopwatch, the Ultimate Stopwatch app on the Play Store, I'm going to ask Rich this question.
So I do it all in on pause and on resume. So
Where do you save it to?
I save it to shared preferences in on pause and on resume. It's going to be slightly. Oh no, I do. I was going to be embarrassed for not having my own application installed, but I do have it installed. So the nice thing about using on pause and on resume is as the app is going, you can hit 21 seconds, 22. You can hit the home button, and it looks like it's gone into the background and it's still running. And when you go back to it, it'll have carried on from. It looks like it's carried on in the background. So now at 32, 33 seconds. But that's all just baked through. On pause, I just store the current time on the clock as well as the current real time, and then resume, I just set it back to where it would be.
And here on air, are you going to commit to adding the new Jelly Bean notification chronometer API?
Yes,
so you can carry on counting in my status,
really
in my
should do that.
notification bar.
So when it goes into the background, we could have counting going on in the notification bar. And exactly to this point, when we rotate, I do the on pause, on resume stuff there as well.
So you're using shared preferences. Another idea, as commented in the moderator, is using the bundle which gets passed in on destroy. You could save it in that bundle.
There's also, if it's not necessarily showing the time, using the alarm manager to set future events. If they're just looking for a way of saying, in 15 minutes I want something to fire off.
That's a fantastic point, Al, because Ultimate Stopwatch also has a countdown timer mode. And when you switch modes to countdown timer, and you put your time of 1 minute in, again, it's counting down. And when you do that, it actually shuts the app down, and this time it uses the alarm manager to set an alarm for 58 seconds time, so that the countdown still beeps. And it looks like it's counting down in the background, but actually the app's shut down and it's just using the alarm manager. I'll wait for that to go off in a minute to check if it's still working. I haven't tested it in ages. But yeah, the chronometer, rich notifications thing's a very good idea.
And countdown timer is good for doing push takes. That's what I use it for.
Well, the new thing in London now, Thames Water want everyone to shower within 4 minutes. So you could put your phone inside a freezer bag and use it for counting down your 4-minute shower and saving water. And then maybe we can use the hose pipes again.
Enough for this week on Geek You Up apps.
My other apps also... True. Would you like to look at the source code? The Ultimate Stopwatch is also open source on Google Code. So you can just look through the code for that and see how it's done.
So don't use a service. I think a service sounds like a bit of a heavyweight approach to this.
I have another. So, you know, now most apps you have the when you're paying for one or even a free one, the EULA, you know, the end user agreement. Is there anything, you know? I haven't looked in the open source project. Is there anything like the framework is going to just come up with that, so there's a consistent one look where you just put in your user agreement? Isn't it? I mean, isn't that kind of canned? You put in.
So you're talking about where you. Which EULA are you talking about?
The end user agreement. So more like I accept or don't accept, some kind of standard thing that you could call to, like in APIs. You know, instead of
per app. You mean one that gets shown when you launch an app, for example?
Yeah. So they would be something that's given to you by the Play Store. So you could, it takes you to the Play Store, and the Play Store says and saves that, just like with your, you know, in-app purchases to this and that. So it's something that it would manage instead of you having to manage that in your, you know, you're already doing it for the.
I don't know. That's an interesting area because, like, we actually handling the in-app purchase, you know, so we know what's going on there, and we can, you know, be confident that a EULA covers that. If it's some behavior which your app then goes on to do, like, I don't know if we could suggest some legal text. That sounds kind of murky to me. I do know there's some templates out there for, you know, small developers, like, to, you know, don't have the resources to engage a lawyer to write these things for them. So I know there's some, like, kind of Creative Commons licenses out there where you basically go through and, you know, fill in a wizard saying your app name and what you want to do, and it'll give you some standard ones for, like, location-based app and, you know, whatever app. I'm going to try.
I'm not talking about the text. I'm talking about just a part of the API where that you call Play Store and you pass in that verbiage. So I'm not. I don't want you to be a lawyer.
Standard. So we do have it for privacy policies already, but of course privacy policies don't need to be accepted by the user explicitly in the same way that end user license agreements usually do. So at the moment, you're right, it's still up to the application to provide a dialogue or some kind of acceptance so they can see the end user agreement and then accept it explicitly there and have the timestamp or whatever.
Most of the ones I've seen tend to just be a scrolling text view with an OK or cancel button at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what I have on my one app, but I'm just, it's like, it would be nicer to be able to say a third party, also a third party has captured your agreement too. It's not something in my app that I could have manipulated. When you get lawyers involved.
You end up with it?
Like we do already for the permissions for an app. So when you hit install, it pops up saying these are the permissions it used, and you have to hit accept and install. You kind of talking that level?
Yeah, something like that. Here's the end user agreement too. Boom. So it's something I fill out in the Play Store, not in the app itself, and then I can say to the lawyer, when someone sues, look, I didn't manipulate this in my code. Here's the timestamp. It's a true timestamp because, look, it's managed by the Play Store.
Interesting. I guess there's quite a lot of infrastructure on support from our side if we did build it. We'd need to give you access to the list of users that had accepted it, which versions of your unit they'd accepted, when they'd accepted it, and all that kind of thing.
Well, I wouldn't even need that. I'm only thinking like if I get sued or something like that, then yeah, I would say go to Google and make a request for it. Maybe something like that, like where you can make a request, because it's not going to be like something I need like that. I just need this is going to be, if it's a long battle, you just say, hey, here, and make a formal request and get it.
Interesting.
Because I don't know why I would need it unless,
unless you're wrong. Well, we sit next to, or near to the Play publisher site team. We'll mention it to them and see what they say. You never know.
They're shooting me.
Who knows whether they've had that suggested before or not. They got a lot of feedback, this kind of feedback, quite recently when they were over at Google I/O, which they're looking through. But I'll definitely add it to the list of their feedback and see what they say. Who knows? Do we have any more moderator questions? How to create the best chance suggesting ideas. Can I make it? I have a library project. Okay, looks like a new one. I have a library project, this is from Dave, with a content provider and multiple application projects that reference the library. I can't install both client applications at the same time because of the content provider. Any suggestions on how to solve?
You need to use a different namespace for the content provider in each app.
Yeah, the content provider. You can't have the same content provider twice on the device. It wouldn't make any sense. So the content provider, it's like saying that your two apps have the same package name. It's just not going to work. We're going to have to create the two apps that you're building on the library with different package names and give the namespace of the content provider. Actually, the namespace of the content provider should often include the package name anyway into the same namespace, so they should be different.
It would be, it'd be pretty confusing to a user to have two content providers providing different data in the same namespace. I can't see a use where you'd want to do it.
And how would you know which one you were talking to?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another new one in there at the moment. I use a fragment class in 5 tabs. I want to know what the tab is being created in the background. What the tab is being created in the background. I realize DVM creates 2 tabs even though it has 5, e.g. I click on tab 3, the tab 1 will be destroyed and tab 4 will be created in the background.
What's DVM?
I'm guessing it's a Dalvik virtual machine.
Okay. Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I hope you guys understood the question because I'm not too sure what's being asked.
So I think he's basically asking, well, because you essentially use an adapter, right? So an adapter will supply views and it will only kind of instantiate them as and when they're needed so that, you can handle arbitrarily large data sets. So I think that's your major problem. You want to know why all 5 aren't created, it sounds like.
Or I think you want to know when the tab is being created, or which one's being created next.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one who's providing the layout. I don't really understand. Okay.
Oh, tabs.
If you're using a view pager,
I was
for
thinking
example,
view pager for actually.
if you're using a view pager, then of course you've got to provide the pages. And it will say, once you get to page 3, page 1 gets cleared out, and page 4 will be requested, so you can keep swiping through them all.
And you can set how many tabs in advance to...
The question is he using a view pager, or has he just got 5 tabs and each one has... each one has a fragment in it. If that's the case, then there isn't any preloading that I'm aware of. So it won't be shuffling tab 1 out of memory and loading tab 4 when you click on tab 3, unless you do have some kind of adapter in place and a view pager and these kind of things.
Yeah, I think it really depends if you're a view pager. If it's just a new layout, they just all should get instantiated at once.
Yeah. And also, they're your fragments, so you'll know when their life cycle is changing. And that's exactly when...
I think we need more details on those. Perhaps if you could post a bit more information.
Marcella.
Yeah, Marcella, if you could post some more information and maybe some code samples to Stack Overflow and link to it in the moderator, that might help us. I think we need a bit more information to go on here.
Yeah, there's a few different scenarios around that. Okay, anything else in the comments before we... Or any other questions from inside the Hangout? If not, I'll have a look for the comments and maybe we'll close up early.
Give ourselves time to see Bradley Wiggins in the Olympics.
Right. Not that we're legging it off to go and watch the Olympics. Well done.
Chris Froome sets off in 7 minutes. Sorry, what? Who said that?
What? It's alright.
What about Phelps? Is everyone is that a big thing? Yeah.
Yeah, no, good for
When
him.
do you think it's going to be broken?
Ah, who knows, eh? Swimmers seem to, be able to compete in a lot of events. I can't see.
Oh! Nice.
I'm watching the Olympics on my Nexus 7 right now.
Yeah. I didn't get to go to Google I/O.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Phelps. Yeah, it must be another swimmer who, if anyone, is going to beat that, right? Because no one else seems to do as many events. Like, is it his third games or second?
The rowers seem to be in for quite a lot.
Yeah?
But they, I'd say, was it 19 medals he's at now?
Mm.
That's incredible.
Who held the previous record?
The Russian girl, I'm trying to remember her name, was like 34 years ago or something like that.
What did she do?
She was gymnastics,
Huh.
which is a lot of different events. You have team events and your separate, personal events.
Who knows? Well, I'm cheering for Bradley. This will be he'll be our most medal won competitor ever for Britain if he wins today. So
It would be excellent. We are very much enjoying the Olympics.
so we go.
Have it on the whole time. One final question from Kathleen just came in saying, can you provide an example of a very simple privacy policy? I don't have one. I imagine if you looked on the internet for one would come up pretty easily for standard privacy policies, things like that. Also, you could look around other Android apps for privacy policies, but unfortunately, I don't think we have one.
I found
used by
someone in
default?
my stream, someone in my G+ stream shared something just like that. Creative Commons privacy policies.
Well, there you go.
Well,
looking for
that's just a
it,
tease because I can't remember what it was.
Well, but isn't it also, depending on the content that you have in your app, is the type of privacy policy you have to have an agreement to. So it's very specific to your app, isn't it?
There are some quite large, encompassing umbrella ones that basically say we're not going to share your data with third parties, we're not going to distribute it around the internet, we're not going to post it on our local notice board. Those kind of ones tend to be reasonably okay for most things, but there are some complexities in it because in certain countries you can't put into a privacy policy certain things because you have to hand over information to legal agencies and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
gets tricky.
I'll try and find the link that I was talking about and share it after this session, but I will also caveat that no one here is a lawyer, so don't take our advice.
Yeah.
Engineers at this
Engineers and Olympics amateur commentators.
Australians just left the traps. So
As we know with all these patent wars, they're evil.
Thanks for coming in today, David. It's been great to talk to you.
Sorry.
And your questions as well and helping out. Feel free to come back in any other time. You're on the invite list now.
And an interesting thing is the Creative Commons' privacy policy is Creatively Commons licensed.
Wow, interesting. How recursive.
Yep.
All right, thank you all very much for watching today. If you've got questions for next week, please start populating the moderator, and we'll be back at 2 p.m. GMT next Wednesday.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the cycling.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.